You know that feeling, right? A new year rolls around and we make all these big, bold promises to ourselves. But what if? What if this year, instead of just another list of resolutions that kind of fizzles out, we could build a year that's genuinely meaningful for our family? Well, today, we're going to dive into a really simple but super powerful framework to do exactly that.
So be honest, does this sound a little too familiar? You start January with this awesome list of goals, you're full of energy, you're ready to go. But then life happens. And by the time February comes around, that list is kind of gathering dust somewhere, and you're left feeling just a little bit defeated. It is such a common cycle, but I promise it does not have to be your story this year.
So, we are going to unpack a method that completely moves past those flimsy resolutions and instead focuses on what truly, genuinely matters. It's a really straightforward approach that connects the things you do every day to your biggest, wildest dreams. And it all starts with one simple tool. And that tool? It's just a large whiteboard. Seriously, that's it. The absolute genius of this system is how simple it is. All you do is divide the board into two halves, and each half has a very clear, distinct purpose. One is for your long-term vision, and the other is for your immediate, actionable plan for this year. Okay, so here's the core idea, and it's brilliant. The bottom half of the board is your foundation. It is your why. This is your big picture, long-term vision, and here's the key. It rarely, if ever, changes. Now, the top half, that's your annual plan. That's your what. This is the part you'll sit down and update every single year to inch you closer to that big vision. Let's start with that all-important foundation, the why. And listen, it is so vital that you start with the bottom half of the board. This is not just another to-do list, okay? This is the heart and soul of the entire exercise. This is where you dig deep and you define the real reasons you get up and you work hard, day in and day out. I want you to think of this section as your family's North Star. You know, these are the big, long-term dreams that are going to guide every single decision, every sacrifice, every ounce of effort. When things get tough, and they will, this is what you look at to remember what it's all for. And your why shouldn't be something vague like be happy. No, it has to be tangible, emotional. I mean, just imagine being able to buy a few acres of land for your family to run around on. Or having the financial freedom to take your entire extended family out for a huge dinner and just pick up the tab without even blinking. Or maybe most profoundly, being in a position where you can financially support a loved one who's in real need. See, these are the kinds of powerful motivators that actually stick with you. This is such a critical step. Before you even think about this year's goals, you sit down and you reread this why section out loud. It's how you reconnect with your deepest values and remind yourselves of that big picture. It just centers you. It totally regrounds you before you start planning all the details. Okay, so you've done the hard work. You've established that powerful foundation, that North Star. The vision is crystal clear. So the big question is, how in the world do you translate that massive long-term dream into what you're actually going to do this Monday and next month and for the rest of the year? And that brings us to the top half of the board, the annual plan. This is where the vision gets real. This is where we define the concrete, actionable steps we're going to take for the year ahead. And this isn't some complicated, stuffy corporate retreat, you guys. It's a simple annual ritual. You just sit down and you walk through 4 really clear steps. Step 1, reflect on the past year. What worked, what didn't. 2, set some individual goals for personal growth. 3, agree on joint goals you can tackle as a team. And number 4, add 1 key financial target for the year. That's it. And you know, the goals on this top half can be wonderfully diverse. They can be personal health goals, like one of you deciding to finally train for that 5K. Or they can be super practical family goals, like saving up for a much-needed minivan. The point is that they're specific, and they all, in their own little way, serve that larger vision you've already put on the board. So you have the system. It's simple, it makes sense, but how do you actually make it stick? Let's cover a few keys to success that make this whole framework sustainable and, honestly, a lot less stressful. Okay, this might be the single most important piece of advice you hear. In our ambition, it's so easy to just pile on way too many goals. But being thoughtful and choosing just a few key targets is so much more effective than overwhelming yourselves with a giant list you can never possibly complete. For real, less is more. And maybe the most important key here is just flexibility. Remember, life is going to happen. It is totally okay if you don't hit every single goal. The goals you set when you have toddlers running around are going to look very different from the ones you set before you had kids. You have to adapt to your season of life. Check in with each other, offer support, but keep the whole thing light and fluid. It shouldn't be rigid and stressful.
And that really brings us to the ultimate purpose of this whole exercise. The win here isn't having a perfectly checked off whiteboard at the end of December. The real win is the clarity you get from the process and the connection you build by working towards a shared vision together. That's the stuff that really, really matters. So, as we wrap up, I'm just going to leave you with this one question to think about. Forget the long list of resolutions for a moment. If you could accomplish just one thing, personally or as a family, what is the one thing that would make this year feel truly, deeply meaningful for you? That right there, that might just be the perfect place to start.